Hey there, and welcome. So, Side Effects is holding a new Houdini art challenge called Mardini, which is starting on the 1st of March. The idea of it is to create an artwork in Houdini based on a daily prompt. That prompt is basically just a theme to base your artwork around. It's open to anyone who would like to enter, and if you do enter, it doesn't have to be every day. Last year, there were prizes for Best Daily, Best Weekly, Best Collection, Best Overall Artwork, and for entering every day. So, as you may know, I won Best Collection in last year's Who Lie Art Challenge, and I've decided to do a daily review video for each day's entries. I'm going to be talking about the winning entries, what makes them so good, and then I'm also going to be talking about some of the other entries. I'll go over what I like about them, what I think could maybe be changed, and how they could have been winning entries in my opinion. So if you'd like me to review your entry, feel free to tag me on Instagram at 9_between. So with all of that comes a bit of a disclaimer. Everything that I'm saying here is my own opinion. It doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm just trying to give a critique that the artist can work from and hopefully something that you can learn from as well. I'm not trying to make fun of or insult or belittle any of the artists. I'm merely just trying to give some feedback in an entertaining way. So let's get straight into it. In third place in the images category, we have this entry by Nice Take for day 22 Crawl. And they've gone for this close-up spider. I do remember them saying something about animation in the forum. I believe that they wanted to animate the spider and then they just didn't have the time. So a couple of things about the shot that I think is pretty cool. One is the lighting that sort of hits the hairs of the leg on the spider. That same light hits the top over here and all of that over there. So you're sort of getting a good edge light over there, which really helps separate the legs from the background because the background is actually a very similar color to the spider. They also have these webs in the background to add a bit of interest to the environment. Although I didn't initially process them as webs, I just thought they kind of like strands. It does add to the environment either way. It doesn't necessarily have to be viewed as webs. It can just be viewed as a sort of accent to the scene. Now, the actual spider over here looks decent. You know, it's got the eyes and the 8 legs. One thing that I might mention is that the hair is very uniform all across the spider. It would be nice if there was a bit of variation, between the body and the legs and that. It also doesn't seem to have any mandibles. I think mandibles would help a lot in this case. But apart from those two minor things, I think that this is a great shot. There's a lot of interesting elements going on. This variation in the background is very nice. The sort of brown with the gray and the blue, and then the purple in the eyes of the actual spider, shallow depth of field. All of that's awesome. So great entry from Nice Take. In second place, we have this entry from Nico Klein, and he's gone for these baby turtles, and they're sort of moving along the sand and going towards the ocean. So this is a typical scene of when these baby turtles hatch, and then they go to the ocean. So it tells a good story. Each of these turtles is well textured, and it's just the same turtle that's been repeated a couple of times. And so by doing that, you get a lot of value out of creating one of these turtles and then just using them repeatedly. The lighting is great. It looks very natural. There's nothing that's too harsh or overbearing. Even this harsh area over here isn't distracting. Same with that over there. There's just a little bit of bump in the sand. And although this doesn't exactly look like sand, it does still get the idea across quite well. So I think that this is pretty awesome from Nico Klein. I think the only minor adjustment would be to the sand. But other than that, I think that this is pretty cool. So yeah, awesome work from Nico Klein. And in first place, we have this entry by Ash Effects. And they have this caterpillar walking along the stem of this plant. Now, there's a couple of things that make this quite pretty. They have these specks of dust in the atmosphere and the shallow depth of field to blur out the background, right? So it feels like a macro photography shot. They've also got a good lighting on the caterpillar coming from above. They don't do too many light sources, which is a risk if you're doing a natural shot, because outdoors there is only one light source and that is the sun. So it's good to have that little bit of ambient light over there and then have this focused light on the top. As for the actual geometry, I think it's awesome. They have this sort of repeated structure, very procedural shape, but they haven't made it just lying straight along the stem, which would be kind of boring. They have the sort of bent area over here, and they even have what looks to be the head of the caterpillar over here. So it's not just perfectly uniform all the way across. They even have variation in their texturing, which is cool. And it's very simple, right? They made a very simple structure over here with basic texturing, but it's very effective because of the scene and the rendering, right? It just comes across as a more stylized caterpillar. It doesn't seem like it's lacking detail. So there's a couple of other things that I think are pretty cool. One of them is the slight bump on this stem over here to really add a little bit of interest as the light hits it. And I also think that the color scheme is awesome, having the green on green on green, but just having varying tones and then sort of breaking it with the black and orange. So yeah, brilliant entry from Ash Effects. In third place in the animation category, we have this entry by Muchi. So yeah, firstly, this is my brother's entry. And, you know, there's a couple of things that I really like about it. Firstly, the lighting, the little bit of minor imperfections. You notice it especially over there, right, where the light hits this face in the ground. I also really like the concept. So I like that it's a square composition. Kind of reminds me of an album cover, sort of Billie Eilish style. And yeah, so these spiders that come out, he wanted to texture them realistically, but there wasn't enough time. So he just gave them a sort of noise-based texture. This is like a Redshift Maxon noise. I think it's like the Voronoi or something. So yeah, that's how he textured those. He did discuss that he would have liked to have made this longer. It is a very short clip, play it back. It's only a couple of seconds, it's 5 seconds. I think that this would have been a lot better if it was maybe 7 to 9 seconds. Maybe like 7 seconds, I think. Just because you don't really get a chance to really appreciate anything because it's so quick, right? One spider comes out, the other one sort of just runs out, but then you don't have a moment to look at the scene. So yeah, I think a little bit of a longer render would have been cool. Otherwise, I really like it. Concept and everything's cool. Texturing's good. Don't have anything bad to say about it really, apart from the length of the video. Definitely think that it needed to be a bit longer. So yeah, I don't know, can I say awesome entry by Muchi? Or is that like nepotism or something? But yeah, cool entry. In second place, we have this entry by this person whose name I've been trying to pronounce for the last 5 minutes. I believe it's Monaju66. Don't know if I said that right. But we have this over here. And so they've got this sort of vellum creature busy crawling around. And yeah, so it's a animated piece of geometry. And inside of it, they seem to have these little pieces of whatever this is. I'm actually not sure if this is vellum. The background does look like vellum. It doesn't necessarily look like flip simulation. I'm not too sure how they did this one, but it's pretty cool. There's a lot of different colors. They get the idea of crawl across. Right, there's this sort of slow crawl towards the camera, and they have all of this interesting detail in the object. So it's very much abstract in terms of execution, but not so abstract in terms of concept, right? The concept is this thing crawling towards you, so it is very aligned to crawl, but it is abstracted. They have an interesting light source. So they have this light at the back that comes in from this side. This is a common light source that you'll see, especially with this sort of shot, where the light's from behind, and they have this sort of struggling focal point over here. So I think that this one's pretty interesting. It's a cool take on the topic, and it's got a great level of detail. So yeah, awesome stuff from, let's try this again, Monaju66. I don't know. Sorry. And in first place, we have this entry by Carl Drifter. So he has this turtle that's sort of pushing along the ground. So there's a couple of things that are pretty crazy about this, right? This is an extremely well-detailed turtle. You can see that there's a little bit of bump in the neck over there, an extremely well-textured shell, pretty much perfect with the texturing over there. It's even got an interesting detailing in the eye. There's good detailing on all of this over here. The transition between textures is crazy. Then all of the detail of the rocks in the background. That looks like it's mostly done with some noise variation. So one texture over here, another texture over there, and then simply just blended with a noise. I believe that's how that would be done. And he's got this great grain simulation over here and these little rocks everywhere. So as for detail, this is awesome. The lighting is great. There's this sort of blue light over here. It reflects off of these rocks. And over here on the top of the turtle, it's a very natural looking light. There's no harsh shadows. This seems kind of early morning, just after sunrise type of lighting. And so it looks pretty good. And then in the beginning, he also has this focal shift from the rock to the turtle. The only thing that I might change personally is the very shaky camera. It doesn't exactly match the shot because this is kind of a calm shot. The turtle's sort of crawling along the ground. But this camera move, this shaky handheld camera move doesn't necessarily fit this. That's just my opinion though. Like, it doesn't really take away too much from the entry. Like, the amount of detail and the simulation, everything is awesome. So can't fault that. I definitely just think that the camera move is a little bit hectic for what's being shown. But yeah, awesome entry by Carl Drifter. As always, you know, I think he's one of the top 3 at the moment. So yeah, you know, he's no joke. It's really good. Awesome work again from Carl Drifter. Into the forums we go. So Vit has a snake. Snakes crawl, right? Oh, that's nice. They have a noise texture on the snake and noise texture on the ground. Very good use of noises. So good stuff, Vit. I like the noise stuff. What could be cool is if you use the noise that you have over here, that sort of paranoid type thing, to do a bit of a bump map on the ground. That could be nice. A bit of variation in the color of the ground would be nice. I think your lighting could also do with a tiny bit of work. You can see that there's actually 2 light sources because there's a shadow there and a shadow here. In nature, that wouldn't really occur. I also make this mistake, so I'm being a little bit hypocritical here, but try to make sure that your light sources kind of line up so you don't end up with this. I do notice that this shadow is a bit more blue and this one is a bit more solid. So this one seems to be your area light, positioned over here, I imagine. And this one seems to be the HDRI positioned sort of, yeah, so those 2 light sources. I would say just move this, you know, to line up with that. That would be pretty cool. Maybe drop the amount of light that's hitting this entire background over here and a bit of shallow depth of field, blur it out so that this is mostly in focus over here. That could be cool. I don't know. Yeah, like good use of, I assume, alt systems, noises, all of those things. Very procedural snake. So that's pretty cool. But what's bothering me is I still don't know if snakes crawl. I need to go see. Do snakes crawl? They typically swim, climb, or crawl by bending their spine into serpentine coils or using their leading edges to push off objects. But the straightforward movement of snakes, called, oh boy, deep breath, rectilinear locomotion. So, topic idea for next year. Side effects, rectilinear locomotion. I'm sure there won't be a lot of snakes for that one. Oh, spooders. Many spooders. Abstract pattern. This could be cool if you... So you could make this with cops, right? I'm sure I have a video out there somewhere about cops. I think it was maybe... What was it? Magic Market. Yeah. Magic Market. There was like an overview video that I did of a sort of substance designer type cops based thing. And you could actually take this and apply it to vellum and use this as displacement. So you could actually have a vellum blanket, right, sort of bundled up on the ground, being displaced by this if you sort of do this in cops. And all you'd have to do is create one little spider, VDB it, and then use it in cops. I can't remember what it's called. There's like a project thing, but that could be really cool. I might give that a try, actually. I like that idea. It seems fun. So yeah, cool conceptual idea by Jonathan Formosa. And I do like it, so good stuff. Crawl by Butadine. So this one is more literal. This is similar to what they did yesterday, I think. I think it was them who did the other color thing. What can I say about this? Okay, look, I would say, actually, a bit of ground, right? So just add a ground plane and then use this as emission or just reflection and let it reflect on a fairly glossy black plane at the bottom. That could be kind of cool. And then do shallow depth of field. So this is kind of in focus, but then everything back here is out of focus. Could be quite nice. Then a little bit of a gradient on the background as well. Maybe thicken these wires and do a little, like maybe fewer of them. It's a little bit jarring on the eyes when there's so many. But if you're going to do this many, then maybe fewer colors, and then you can do even more of these lines. These little particles, maybe trail them off a bit. So do like a trail node, because I assume this was a pop net, unless it was a scatter, but if it was a pop net, you can sort of trail and then drop the p scale. So it's actually like multiple particles like this, right? So you trail them, and then you just drop p scale depending on which trail element it is. And then you can have a sort of like shrinking effect on each particle. That could be kind of cool. Yeah, that's just some ideas, but it's quite pretty from Houdini. This one. So I've already gone through all of these entries. I think that this one definitely should have special mention. It's very nice. It's one of the more organic looking creature renders that I've seen in Mardini so far. So I think it's pretty cool. It's got a very good shape to it. Got the little toes. Pretty cool. And I like the sort of color gradient from the white to the blue, or from the light blue to the slightly darker blue. Very nice misted glass type effect. There was an entry like this last year, which I believe won, but I'm not sure. Can't remember. Let me go check actually. It actually didn't win last year. It was for translucent though. It was very similar. Maybe side effects. Maybe they don't like lizards, geckos, because I think this is pretty cool. This is nice. Little mohawk baby. Very nice color and like rendering. Very good rendering actually. This soft lighting over here, blue, it sort of picks up on this edge. I made it look like a bearded baby. Now he looks like Mr. T.
The thing that matters the most is on the inside. It's not what you look like on the outside.
So this entry by the Hassan, I think it's cool. It's a slightly different take. It's more of a micro. I always get that wrong. This micro scale. Can't remember. But yeah, sort of this zoomed out crawling effect. I think it's cool. This one from Electrical Pencil is really cool because what they're doing is they're blending between a sort of vellum simulation and I actually think that's reversed at the end. So this one is the simulation running the right way, and then they deform the geometry with like a time shift type thing, and then they reverse the animation so it's like it inflates again. That's pretty cool. Good use of Houdini's tools. Also like that they made a camo flippy. It's pretty cool. This entry from Furuya Takumi is pretty like technically impressive. I just like that they managed this movement, sort of random directions and stuff with multiple ones like this, all sort of offset. It's pretty cool. I like this one. And you can actually see that they move on a curve, which I think is pretty awesome. Yeah, I like this one. So this one from Lucas Rumney is really impressive because like I know that Lucas is pretty much brand new to Houdini. And this is a pretty insane setup for somebody who's new to Houdini. Right, this looks really good. I feel like this is probably a Vex setup or something. This doesn't feel like dynamics or anything to me. I feel like it's maybe a curve moving along a path, and then these are sort of snapping to points, but I can't be certain. It does look really good though. Like this is impressive. Because he doesn't really render. I've only seen maybe like one render from him. He generally just focuses on setups, and this is like one of the best setups he's done. It's really cool. Cool art style on this, right? From Behika. Like, this is a sort of toon shader style. You can see because there's only like 3 shades, but it's pretty good toon shading. I would say that the only thing that this really struggles with is the color variation. I think maybe if the snake was a little bit more distinct from the background, or even if it had some sort of pattern, it could be pretty cool. But yeah, I think it's just that it looks too similar to the background color. It's all very muted. But it's so sick, this toon shading. Or actual footage of Boys Night Out. That's sick. Tom Miner.
I might go and do that thing. Now I go. Man, I tell them all what's up now. Oh, now they all wanna fuss now. Don't look around in the city.
So good job making me feel very uncomfortable. But if you wanted to make me feel even more uncomfortable, like I think that this is pretty cool if you had to render it out a little bit better. So what I would say is you have this head, and then you have a secondary head that actually gets displaced. So it's actually a skin layer. And then you have this thing in between the 2 layers, right? So displacing it. Then it could look really gross. Because if you have subsurf, you'd be able to see this thing sort of moving under the surface. And that skin layer, you could do things like tension or whatever. And you can do vellum or whatever it may be, and actually have it like the skin sort of tugging and like, ugh. That could be so gross. It'd be cool. Yeah, so I think that this, if it was for more than a daily challenge, or you can make it look so disgusting, it would be sick. But yeah, that's a cool concept from Trevor J. I think there's only 2 people who did like the skin crawling thing. Sorry if I'm leaving you out, but I think it was VFX Man 222 and Trevor J. If I come across anyone else, I'll mention them. I can't remember. You know, I always see Tanita's entries right at the end. Oh, this one's actually nice. This one's like a chain link watch. Or whatever it is, bracelet. That's pretty nice. But they always post really late. I wonder if this is... Oh, this is a whole day late. Okay, I don't think they just missed it. I think they missed it by like a good 24 hours or something. Anyways, that's the end. I'll be back later. Many more videos to record. So the recording spree goes on. I'll see you guys later. Bye.